the DNA fantasy football show covering all the games for week 10. We're here to answer all your start sit questions, all of your trade questions, anything you have for us. Be happy to go over that during the show. Of course, as always, today I'm joined from my co-host of this Dynasty DNA team member, contributor, and good friend, Dynasty Wiz, Nicholas Holt. Nick, how you doing today, man?
No, I'm doing pretty good. Doing pretty good. How about yourself?
Doing really good. Doing really good. Another show or another game in Germany over there right now. We'll touch on it just for a minute. We got the Colts and the Patriots. Real barn burner. Boy, they're treating the fans over there to some good quality NFL football. We got 7-6 right now. The Colts are winning this game. What do you think of this one so far, Wiz?
Oh man, I tried not to start anyone really on there. Obviously, besides like JT, I think Michael Pittman. I got an update that Houston's on the sideline getting some work done. But I don't know. Just the only pass catcher I guess you could really trust on that New England side of the field is Douglas, D'Amico Douglas.
Yeah.
Like that rookie's he's been balling out a little bit. Like he's not putting up like splashy numbers, but he's giving those consistent like 10 points where you're like on a weekly flex where you need like I want those consistent points. That's the guy you can fire up in your lineup. So and he's been on a waiver wire in like dynasty leagues. Like he hasn't been going except maybe if you have 5 round rookie drafts. But
Yeah, he come out of nowhere, man. He's looked really good.
he was a 3rd round too. So that's like he wasn't even on my draft board. I didn't watch any of his film. I didn't even never heard of his name until like a little bit ago. I was like seeing the preseason. I was like, oh, this guy looks pretty good. And then I heard one of the broadcasters guys are like comparing him to Tyreek Hill. I was like, maybe I'll like add him on my teams real quick, just in case. Like I don't really see the comparison, but man, it's paid
And
off so far.
and a small school guy out of Liberty. I don't think a lot of people expected much out of him, but so far so good. I mean, he's really balled out. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see who wins this game, man. Do you think Bill Belichick's going to be on the hot seat here soon?
I saw that the most recent report is that they're on a mutual agreement that he's gonna like kind of leave next season. Like I think it's Robert Kraft's like way of showing respect that hey, we're not gonna can you, even
Yeah.
though like you deserve to be fired. I mean, Patriots have not looked good since Tom Brady's exited that franchise. But it was just a common courtesy thing that he was like, like you're done after this season if you like it or not. So
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it might just be a good change for the whole franchise. I mean, I know that Ty and Jimmy and Musk recorded Fantasy Feud today, and we were talking about possible destinations for Caleb Williams. And New England's right in there, man. They lose this one, they're right down towards the bottom of that list. So
yeah, absolutely. And do you think? Oh, Colts just got a field goal, but so it's 10-6 now. But do you think Bill Belichick's done after the season, or do you think he's going to move on to? I mean, the Commanders look like they might need a new head coach. I mean, the Raiders fired McDaniels. I doubt they move back towards Belichick, but Tom Brady is the owner, part owner of that franchise, so you never know. Do you think he stays around, or do you think he's hanging up?
I think he's going to try to coach maybe one more team. I don't know for how long. I honestly, that screams Washington Commanders to me. Like they're the kind of team that would bring him in just for a year or two, just to think that they're kind of. We know they're pretenders, but they always think they might be contenders. So they could maybe bring him in, and I could just see him being there for just a quick little stint, and then it changes real quick. So it's tough to say, but if I had to put my finger on it, that's what I would guess. I mean, I think something like that. The Raiders probably is another one to keep an eye on. They would do something like that, but I don't see him being done because I think he's going to try to get that record, Don Shula's record. So I think that's in the
Absolutely.
back of his mind. But moving on, enough with that 10-6 Colts Patriots game. We're going to go into the first game on the slate here. My Pittsburgh Steelers going up against the Green Bay Packers. Two struggling offenses going toe to toe. Steelers are at home in this one. What do you think about this game, Wiz? I mean, I know that Jordan Love has struggled quite mightily. He's facing a big pass rush today. Do them struggles continue, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, both these teams kind of struggle in the first half, where they just never look good in the first half, and then they come back towards the end of the game. And that's usually how they win. So I think it's gonna be a low scoring game up until maybe like a couple quarters here. But I mean, Jordan Love just hasn't been able to get things going after he was off to that good start. I think defense has kind of figured him out, and it was surprising that they figured him out so quick. Um, and he just needs to develop more. I mean, I thought he'd be more pro ready. I mean, especially sit behind Aaron Rodgers for this long, just being prepped, getting all those training reps in, practice reps, but it's not really football, you know what I mean? So he needs to go out there and he needs to play games. And I think it's going to be kind of a struggle in there. And he's locked with Green Bay for another year. They're paying him $20 million next year. So, I mean, hopefully he figures it out for him, but I just don't see it coming to fruition anytime soon.
Yeah, I agree with that. It doesn't look good, and like you said, you don't throw the ball down the field. Christian Watson's been plagued by. I mean, that's only okay. That's his big thing. I mean, he's a down the field guy. Hasn't been really able to get involved. Jordan Reed's looked good. Also, Romeo Dobbs has been solid for them, but I don't know, man. I think it's going to be a low scoring, ugly game today. I do think the Steelers win it. Who do you think wins this one?
Yeah, I mean, the spread right now is Pittsburgh's the favorites -3 uh, in there, which I think Pittsburgh are the favorites for sure. But I mean, this game's gonna be tightly. It's gonna be tightly played. It's gonna come down to like the last drive, I think. But I do think Pittsburgh takes this game. Mike Tomlin's a dog. Like I've been saying this all throughout all these shows. You just can't bet against this man against the spreads or anything like that. And coming out of little mini buys, he's like 9-2, and that's like the second best record of like the active current coaches in the NFL right now. So I mean, I think Pittsburgh kind of is figuring this stuff out a little bit. I mean, you have all this drama with George Pickens coming in there, but I think Pittsburgh's starting to piece it together. I think Deontay coming back was a big boost for that offense. I mean, he's getting open more, and it's kind of making their offense flow better. But I mean, next season, hopefully Matt Canada's gone. You guys might have a better offense.
Yeah. I mean, that'll be good for everyone if he's gone. We'll see, but it will be interesting today to see if they get George Pickens involved. I mean, we kind of talked about this too. I mean, he's someone that has been an unhappy camper. So, do they get him the football more? We're going to see today. I think he's going to have a pretty good day. I think they're going to try to force feed him a little bit. Do you agree with that?
Yeah. Do you see Mike Tomlin's comment when they asked him about George Pickens?
No.
Oh, he was basically said like George Pickens is like a pebble in the shoe, where
Oh,
he's like
yeah.
he's not that big of a deal, but
Yeah.
that's like the most annoying shit ever. Like, what do you do as soon as you get a pebble like in your shoe? You take your shoe off and you throw it out. You don't want that in your shoe because that causes blisters. It's uncomfortable. So I
Right.
don't know. I mean, that's the analogy I took. I'm like, I'm getting that pebble out of here. So maybe George Pickens is getting moved next season, but I doubt it. But
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you there. So it will be interesting. We think the Steelers are going to win that one. I do think it's going to be low scoring. I'm going to say like 17-13, something like that. We'll see what happens. But going over to the next game, Browns versus Ravens. This is your game. Ravens are at home. Browns have been playing pretty good football all in all, but Deshaun Watson, first game back against Arizona looked okay, but didn't set the world on fire. This Ravens defense is really good, like it usually is. What do you think happens in this game? Do you like the Ravens or do you like the Browns?
I mean, obviously, I'm going with the Ravens here. Just whenever I feel overconfident with the Ravens, where I'm like, oh, it's a smash, like in there, like we don't show up to play football, and whenever I'm like I'm a little bit nervous, like against the Seahawks last week, we blew them out of the water. Like they flipped the game off when I'm watching it mid broadcast to a more entertaining game, which was the Bears and Saints. I'm like, what the fuck is that?
That's a
Like I've
good.
never seen that before. I've never seen that before. But I think it's gonna be I think it's gonna be a little bit of a close game. But I think Ravens kind of pull away towards the end of it. But I think this is gonna be the like turning point for Deshaun Watson coming forward. I mean, this is a tough matchup. Baltimore's defense is I think second best. I think Browns are number one currently. So this is gonna be a big defense game. I think Lamar is gonna play fine. I'm not really worried about him. Just is he gonna score touchdowns, and that's gonna be where his fantasy value lies because we just been handed to Gus, and Gus Edwards, man, and at that 1 yard line, that's where he strives. He's a dog. So that makes me real excited. But yeah, I mean, I think Baltimore takes care of the Browns here. I'm pretty confident. It's at -6. I don't know if we beat them by 6, but if I had to bet one of the spreads, I'm taking the Ravens -6.
And if I mean, we kind of figured that this is going to be low scoring, AFC North type football. I would guess. Wouldn't you agree with that?
Yeah, but I don't like the Ravens' offense has just been clicking a little bit towards like these last two games ever since we kind of didn't show up against the Steelers. I mean, looking at through fantasy sheets and stuff like that, you might be like, oh, it doesn't really look that good. But I mean, we're putting up points. Like the Seahawks have a decent defense. They're not a slouch, and we did whatever we wanted on them, and it just shows that like when our offense is clicking and humming, like we could beat any team in the NFL. We are the best team in the NFL if that happens. But it's just going to be what kind of offense we get this week. So
Yeah. Yeah. The nice thing is you can rely on that defense. Zay Flowers a little disappointing last week, and you kind of mentioned it with Lamar. I mean, he gets you those rushing points. That's what really bails you out on the games that he's not really into it. I mean, if he's not scoring touchdowns, no big plays or anything like that. But do you think Zay Flowers has a bounce back today? I mean, this is a tough draw against Cleveland, or do you think we expect a little bit of the same like we seen last week?
yeah, I mean, the thing with Zay Flowers, right? The target's been there. The target's been there since week one, essentially. I think even week one, he had a crap ton of targets. Uh, so I mean, targets are turning, or it just shows that he's able to get those fantasy points. Is can he catch these balls? Is Lamar going to throw him accurate enough for him to catch those balls? And can he make a guy miss? Because if he makes a guy miss, he could take it to the house. He's that elite of a burner. So I mean, just it's gonna be interesting for sure to see what happens with it. But I mean, like Zay Flowers is a difference maker on the field, so I feel like you have to start him in your lineup each and every week, unless you have someone that's way better. Obviously, like I'm not gonna start him over like AJ Brown, CeeDee Lamb, or any of those elite guys, or like Michael Pittman. Even I probably start Michael Pittman right now over Zay Flowers. But when it comes down to it, I mean, Zay Flowers could put up those 20 points weeks, or he could put you up at 7 points, and that's just kind of a gamble you want to take. And that's kind of like what I went back to with like Douglas, where Douglas is giving you like a solid 10 points every week. You want the say 4 of 10 points, or would you rather shoot for the moon, go for 20 with Zay Flowers? So
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely a catch 22, and that's it. He could always break a big one, and that's what I said. Most of the time, if he's going to have a big game, I think that's what you're hoping for. But final score prediction, what do you think the Ravens, you say they're going to take this one. I agree with you. I think they win, but what do you think the score is going to be?
yeah, maybe like 24-13, something around there, a little bit lower scoring. The over under right now is at 38. I kind of lean towards the under, but it's so low where I'm not going to take the under. Obviously, it's real enticing for the over, but I'm just fading this game personally for the over unders. But yeah, so like 24-13 around there.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, and then on the Cleveland side of the ball, I mean, we're going to see what they have to offer. Like I said, kind of had a decent game last week, but they were going up against Arizona, who's absolutely terrible, especially on defense. What do you expect out of Deshaun Watson today? I don't think he's going to fare well against your defense.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. Where it comes down to like that turning point is like I think this is where we're gonna be able to tell. Is any of that elite bit in Deshaun Watson still, or is he just washed now? And he's going against a good defense, so it's gonna be hard to tell. I mean, he performs well against crap defenses, which as an NFL quarterback, he should be able to perform against crap defenses. And now this is his chance to prove that he's worth that contract, worth all that draft capital investment the Browns made into him. And I think it's been interesting. I hope that he sucks because he's playing my team right now. But I have a few shares of him in Dynasty, so I kind of want to see him like do well. And but I don't know, man. I probably lean towards he's going to struggle a little bit this game. But.
Yeah, I think you're right on that. We're going to hop over to the next game here. 49ers versus Jaguars. 49ers did not look good the past few weeks. Now they are coming off their bye. And I'll say this, I mean, if anyone can probably use this bye week to their advantage, it's Kyle Shanahan, and I think he's going to get this ship righted. Do you think that the 49ers are going to look different today and have a better day, or do you expect maybe another upset loss for them here?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Deebo Samuel's back. Quentin Williams is also back, I think. I know he was questionable coming into it, but he's more than likely ready to play. So, I mean, with all that coming in, I mean, 49ers are getting healthy again. Jacksonville's not done well against good teams. They have one of the easier schedules in the NFL right now. And this is going to be like their true test of are they contenders or pretenders? And I think the same thing with 49ers. They lose to Jacksonville here. I think 49ers fans should be worried about can they actually reach the NFC championship game this year or even make the playoffs? Because, I mean, that's where it's heading. Their division's not doing well. I mean, Seattle just got stomped by the Ravens. The Cardinals They have Kyler Murray come back, but their defense isn't there. The Rams, Matthew Stafford's health is up in the air. I mean, they just signed Carson Wentz. So is his injury more severe than what we were initially led to believe? So you have all those questions surrounding that division. So I think 49ers are still going to make the playoffs just because of their division being so poor, but their team's definitely not where it used to be from the last 2 years.
Yeah, for sure, man. And like I said, we'll see how they fare coming off the bye week. A guy that I'm anticipating a big game out of today, and I want to see how you feel about it. I had him on the Start Sit show. Is Brandon Ayuk. You know, Jacksonville's been really susceptible to guys on the outside catching balls on them. And I mean, I know Debo's back, but I think that helps Ayuk because I think Ayuk's a good receiver, but I don't think he's truly dominant. So when he has someone the caliber of Debo there, I think that helps draw some attention away from him. I think he cleans up today. Do you like Ayuk?
Yeah. I've always been a big fan of Ayuk, and it kind of sucks now that his price is like real high. Like back before, like when Debo had his big season, like that's when I was like all in on Ayuk, and I was all in Ayuk as well when Debo had that big season, so that kind of bit me a little bit. But I was still all in on him because the talent's there, you know, in the talent standpoint, and he's a free agent next year. So.
Yeah, maybe he goes somewhere else. That'll be interesting to see if it affects him, helps him. I don't know. We'll have to see the landing spot, I guess. But yeah, I like Ayuk today as well. On the Jacksonville side, Trevor Lawrence has been mediocre this year. I mean, we talked about it on the Dynasty DNA show. Kind of disappointing from what we were hoping. I mean, when everyone talks generational talent, you know, you're thinking that you got a top 5 quarterback in Superflex. But he just hasn't looked that great. He's been okay, but nothing special. Do you think that Lawrence at some point this season can string some games together here and actually put some high end fantasy performances together? Because in a matchup like today, I don't think he's going to do that great either. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, he definitely doesn't have a good matchup coming up. I mean, the San Francisco secondary is definitely not where it was, and but that offense, that defensive line now is so much better with Chase Young being on there, Bosa's on there, Armstead's on there. So I mean, you have like, I just don't know how they're not going to be able to stop that push. Like, I don't think the 49ers need to call a single blitz with all that talent on that defensive line, which is insane. But this is like something I was worried about Trevor Lawrence coming into this season about, right? I mean, everyone compared Justin Fields like where he had those big string of games, but Trevor Lawrence had the same kind of production where he started out real bad in the beginning of the season, then he upticked real quick towards the championship. And I kind of saw him as an inconsistent player, and that's why I was like trying to get out on him. It's not necessarily I don't believe in the talent. It's just that he's just so inconsistent that I was like trying to tear up to Justin Herbert, where his value was so depressed from last season from being hurt. So I mean, I am worried about Trevor Lawrence's long-term value, and he just until he could show that he could produce weekly, no matter the matchup, right? I mean, that's where you get into that top 3, those elite guys of Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes. I think there's question marks all around him.
Yeah, there is, man. And I'm like you. Like, will he do this again? Will we kind of have a few weeks? We'll see. This is a tough draw today. I think the 49ers are probably going to bounce back and win. I'm going to say right around 27 to like 17. I like them in this game. Do you like the 49ers as well in this one?
Yeah, I mean, Jacksonville is at home. And that -3, I feel like that's a little disrespectful on Jacksonville's part. I mean, Jacksonville has a better record, and they're the home team. So I think this might be a little of a trap game. I can see Jacksonville winning this game outright. So I guess that'll be my upset alert.
All right, you think could be an upset in the weeds here with Jacksonville? I like it. I think they're capable of doing it, but what Lawrence is going to have to play well, and that offensive line, like you said, is going to have to block. I think that's the biggest thing for them. But we're going to go over here now to the next game. We have the Saints versus the Vikings. Saints offense has kind of been rolling a little bit here, Wiz. Do you think that the Saints are going to bring this one down on the road, or do you think Josh Dobbs has another miracle performance and the Vikings can win this one?
Man, I think the Saints offense is just so bad where they don't know what they want to do half the time with football. They have they still have Taysom Hill back there making passes. They like running deep routes, but then they stopped running deep routes in the middle of the game for no reason after they started working, right? they can't really get a run game established. Kendrick Miller's not looked good. Uh, and then as soon as like I don't know what it is with Derek Carr, but it's just like something that's always pissed me off about him. Is like he just loves throwing it at 3 yards down the field, right? And that's where Alvin Kamara is feasting right now. And I think this could be another big game for Alvin Kamara. I'm definitely smashing his receptions over. I think it's at 4.5. Vikings blitz. They're like one of the they blitz the most, I believe, in the NFL, or towards they're up in the upper echelon. And
Yeah.
there, so what is Derek Carr going to do? Oh, you're sending all these guys at me? Okay, Alvin Kamara. Alvin Kamara. It's gonna be that the whole entire game. It's gonna be the most boring game to watch. But I mean, oh man, like these games just been so tight. Like last year, I feel like they were so much easier to pick out like the favorites. But I mean, I think the Saints will win this game. I don't think Joshua Dobbs is the answer, unfortunately. I do like the Minnesota Vikings fans rattling around, shaving their eyebrows off. To show support. But man, I just don't think he's the guy.
No, I don't either. I know that and Andy kind of likes him for a contender. I do think he's going to be okay this season, but a long-term answer I don't agree with as far as a long-term answer. But like Andy said, as a contender buy, I think he's pretty good because you can get him fairly cheap, and he is going to put up points running around, and he's got some decent weapons. But I'm like you, man. Alvin Kamara has just been like Derek Carr is a perfect match for him. It's unbelievable. But I think the Saints are going to win this one too. I think it's going to be close. But I was just going to ask you, do you think Josh Dobbs in this game, I mean, how do you think he plays? I mean, do you think he's going to get some, you think he gets 20 fantasy points? You think he gets like less than 10? I mean, what's your gauge on it? You think he gets like middle of the road, like 14 or something?
Yeah, I mean, he's probably a middle of the road kind of guy, which is good for it. I mean, he's probably a QB2. If he's a QB1, I mean, it means you probably suffer real bad from injuries this year at the quarterback position. But like in my parlay this week for the same game parlay I have going on, I have Alvin Kamara at 4.5, TJ Hawkinson at over 4.5 receptions, and then Derek Carr will have 32.5 pass attempts. So I kind of fade Joshua Dobbs, even though I was tempted to take those rushing yards. Because I think he's going to scramble out the pocket a decent amount, and he's actually the second. He has the second most rushing yards right now, but any quarterback, and that's beating Jalen Hurts, Patrick Mahomes, Justin Fields. Obviously, I mean, he's been hurt, but I mean, it just shows that he's capable of getting down on his legs and off his safe floor. So.
Yeah, I agree with that. Jordan Addison's another player that's, he's really benefited with no Justin Jefferson. Do you think Addison has a good day today? Because, I mean, it looked like he was playing like solid with Dobbs. I mean, at least they had a little bit of chemistry.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he should be lined up against Lattimore. I think KJ Osborne's gonna be out, so they have Brandon Powell there, and then maybe Jalen Naylor, I think his name is. I don't know if he's gonna be playing, but it just shows that, I mean, their wide receiver core is so decimated right now, and I think they're just be able to just keep Jordan Addison or TJ Hawkinson out of the game. They're gonna pick one of them, and so I think they're gonna go more so with Addison, try to keep him out of the game. And that's kind of why I took him out of my parlay. Make sure I didn't put him in my parlay. I think Hawkinson's gonna feast, so yeah, I'm kind of keep him on the bench this week.
Yeah, it'll be interesting, man. And too, like Lattimore, we know Lattimore's a great cover corner, so we'll see what these Vikings receivers can do with no Justin Jefferson. But he's getting closer to a return, so if you do have him, I'm sure you're happy about that. So
absolutely, and I was saying Michael Anthony put in there about a Devy question, which I don't play Devy, but he said trade question with Devon Achane and Will Levis for Kyler Murray and JJ McCarthy. And I saw JJ McCarthy now kind of got bounced out of the Heisman favorite. He was at minus like 250, I think, and now he's at plus like 3,000. So that means he's kind of doing bad. I haven't really kept up with Michigan this year, so I don't know how well he's doing or how good he looks. I don't know if you could answer that one, TJ.
So it's Will Levis and Devon Achane, right? The one side, and the other one's McCarthy, and who's the other one?
Kyler.
Superflex league, man. Boy.
Yeah, like Kyler's definitely the most value right there, and I mean, but Will Levis has looked good.
Devon
Achane's looked good.
I don't think McCarthy's going to be a first round pick, and historically, I mean, not all the time, but historically, Big Ten quarterbacks have not looked good in the NFL. I mean, C.J. Stroud's kind of an outlier. That I mean, he's looked good, but outside of that, I mean, you can go through them. I mean, all these guys from Ohio State, all these guys. I mean,
Well,
Tom
Tom
Brady.
Brady was from Michigan.
Yeah, Tom Brady, but like there's a bunch of other ones that like Drew Henson. I mean, I could
I
go
think
back.
Eric Blood's. Never mind. I think it's something different.
Oh, and then the Penn State guys are horrible usually too. So I don't know. I would probably because McCarthy ain't projected to be a first round pick. I don't think, not that I know of.
Not
So
anymore.
I would say probably I would go Levis and A Chain. I would probably go that route. I mean, and it's not like a big, difference because here's the thing. I like Kyler too, but he always gets hurt. And two, is Arizona going to commit to him long term? And if they don't, where does he go? Does he fit? Do they commit to him long term if he struggles or, can't get them over the hump? So I think I would take A Chain and Levis. I would go strictly for the upside there. Kyler Murray to me is probably the best player in the trade. But as far as like the number 2, number 3 asset goes, I think you're getting that with Levis and A Chain. And with the ceiling, I think I'm going that route.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree.
But going over to the next game, and we appreciate the question. Going over to the next game here, we got the Texans and Bengals. The Bengals are at home. Boy, Cincinnati, and we kind of said this. They started slow, but they're starting to look like them old selves again. I mean, Jamar Chase is playing in this game. That's one thing that we had to keep an eye on. There is no T. Higgins. But Houston, man, definitely coming on with this young offense with C.J. Stroud and company. I do think there's going to be a little bit more of a roller coaster ride with them because they're just not a finished product yet, but they are looking, solid. But I think Cincinnati's going to be a lot for them to handle this game. Houston's running game's non-existent. Dameon Pierce has pretty much hurt himself out of Houston or out of the league as a full-time starter. Devin Singletary ain't nothing special, so they don't have much of a running game. But Cincinnati with a banged-up receiving core, I don't think it's going to be a cakewalk, but I do think that they're going to probably take care of business. But going over to Houston, Wiz, what do you expect out of C.J. Stroud today? I mean, we just seen that monumental game he had last week. Can he repeat it?
Yeah, I mean, we saw the ceiling, so that's what we expect from now, right? Another 500 yards passing and 5 touchdowns again. I mean, that has to be the expectations of any reasonable, right?
Right. Yeah, that's doable every week. That's
yeah,
doable.
right. So Nico Collins is out, Dameon Pierce is out, like you already said. So it kind of leaves Tank Dell, Schultz, Robert Woods, and then whoever else they have, Noah Brown, which he looked good.
Yeah.
So I mean, the Texans need to improve their offensive line for sure. That's like something that. But C.J. Stroud, I mean, you guys already mentioned on the pod earlier this week that he's so good at extended plays. I mean, he just ran out of the pocket, kind of did a couple of loops, and then he saw no one there, and he did the smart thing and threw it away. Where he's playing smart, which is something like you like to see how these rookie quarterbacks where they're able to extend plays and not force the ball into mistakes. So he's doing a real good job of taking care of the ball. So I think the Bengals. I mean, this is going to come down to just are they going to be able to shut down that deep ball threat, and are they going to be able to take away the middle? Because I think that's where Dalton Schultz is going to thrive, is in the middle of the field. I don't think he's ever that good of a tight end. He's kind of average, but he's a smart football player, and he can make up for his not being athletic. So I mean, with the -5, I think the Bengals take care of it. I mean, especially at home. And if you saw, I noticed when I was watching, they had the Bengal stripes going in their stadium. They had it all coordinated somehow, which good on them for figuring that out. Like, you guys wear orange in this section, you wear black, orange, black. That's impressive they figured that out. So shout out to those Bengals fans.
Yeah, that's hard work, man. That's diligence there. Knowing who's all coming to the game. Boy,
there could never be at Baltimore, I'll tell you that. And geez, we would never be able to figure that out. I'd be like, I'm supposed to sit here and wear purple? You sure? I'm wearing my black one today. But I mean, I think the Bengals are definitely making a comeback, and that scares me since we're leading the division right now. We've lost games, and I think they're going to start clicking, and this is coming to the playoff time where all these games matter, especially in our division where it's just so close, and everyone's in it for the playoff spot. It's like the NFC South, but we're actually good.
Right. Yeah. I'm with you there, and every game counts. You're right on that. And Joe Mixon, I mean, kind of, looking a little bit better. I mean, like I said, kind of found his legs a little bit. Going up against this used to run defense, I mean, what do you expect out of Mixon? Do you think he has an okay day?
Yeah, I think it's going to come down to is he going to find the end zone, and I think he's a good bet. I put him on there as anytime touchdown scorer. I don't know why I fucked that up twice, but it's definitely a guy that's I'm paying attention to. I mean, I think he's more capable. Texans kind of let up a lot of bad touchdowns every now and again for no reason. Like Rashad White, I think he got 2 last week. I think he
Yeah,
got 2.
yeah, I know he for sure he got two. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I think a 1 yard plunge, but he did look good. I mean, especially catching the ball.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Joe Mixon's a better 1 yard runner than Rashad White is.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah, and the Bengals' offensive line has been hit or miss, but I think they're starting to click more. And the Texans' defensive front's definitely nothing to be that scared about. I mean, they have Will Anderson, and he's looked good, but he's definitely not a big difference maker. So, I mean, I think Bengals -5 is a good bet this week.
Yeah, I'm with you there. And like you said, no Nico Collins, no Damian Pierce. I mean, the Texans are banged up, unfortunately for them. But the future's bright. We'll see where they go from here. I'm excited to watch CJ Stroud, though. Going over
You
to the
think, you think it's going to be a shootout?
next.
Or it needs to be close. The over-under is 45.5.
Yeah, I think it's going to be close to a shootout. I wouldn't say it goes crazy, but I could see, maybe it being like 21 to like 30, somewhere in there, or 24-30. I think it's going to be a solid game, but I don't think it goes crazy. So we'll see what happens. And D'Amico Ryan's defensive coach, I think he'll be able to do enough to slow Cincinnati down, and no T. Higgins, too. So there's some big players missing in this game.
Yeah, do you think Tyler Boyd's a good fire-up?
I do, because Joe Burrow likes throwing to Tyler Boyd, and with no T. Higgins, I mean, they really don't have a true number two. I know sometimes, like Ty says, they'll throw it to that Irwin. They'll throw it to anybody, Irv Smith, I mean, Drew Sample. I mean, but I think Tyler Boyd is a favorite of Joe Burrow's. I do think he likes him. It's just with T. Higgins, he don't see the field as much. But when he's out there, it seems like he looks his way quite a bit. So I do like Tyler Boyd this week. So
Absolutely, I agree.
We'll see what happens. But going to the next game here, Titans versus Buccaneers. Will Levis, that's all I got to say. I think that's what everyone's excited to see. This is a Buccaneers defense that absolutely got carved up last week by CJ Stroud, another rookie quarterback. Now, I don't think everyone's expecting that out of Levis, but, after that first game, everyone was kind of excited. I mean, he did play the Steelers. That's a tough draw. I mean, especially from a pass rush standpoint goes. But how do you like the Titans this week and Will Levis? I think he has a good game. I don't think he's going to do near what CJ Stroud did, because that's just unrealistic expectations. But I can see a world where he throws for like 250, 275 and like 2 or 3 touchdowns. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I agree with that. So like one of the things I checked before kind of making my bets this week was so Jamil Dean, he went out with a concussion, and then after that, that's when CJ Stroud started lighting up the Buccaneers. But he's back this week, so he's playing. But I think Will Levis has a good game this week. So like I made a big parlay, which is probably going to miss now by a leg or two because it's so big. But Will Levis over 224 yards passing and over 31 pass attempts. Baker Mayfield will have over 241 yards. Hopkins will have 4.5 receptions. Derrick Henry with 1.5 receptions. Rashad White with 3.5. Trey Palmer with 1.5, and Kate Otten over 29.5 yards. And I feel real confident in that, even though it's probably not going to hit. I mean, $5 must be 210, so hopefully it hits. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, hey, that's a good bet, man. If you can come together, I like that. Getting creative, man. I like that a lot. I like DeAndre Hopkins too this week. I mean, we know he's a down the field guy, and Levis loves to sling it. So, and I don't know if Trey
He's been there with Will Levis too, and that I think he's been getting double digit targets now ever since Will Levis has come in. So just wants to catch half those, And Trey Palmer's been a guy that he's been getting on the field with Chris Godwin and Mike Evans on the field, and he's been catching the ball. They're getting him involved. So I think I don't know. I think it's gonna be a good scoring game, and their Bakers looked good, which I don't know. I mean, that's probably one of the bigger shockers in the fantasy community. I mean, you could have got Baker for a second, maybe, during the offseason. You believed in him, especially with those clips coming out with him just overthrowing receivers in practice. And that, I mean, it shows that, we can't judge a book by its cover right away. and sometimes it's good to invest in those cheaper quarterbacks.
Yeah, for sure, man. And if you are needing a quarterback three, that would have been a perfect example. Another one that I wouldn't mind throwing a third at, maybe just to see if it sticks. Now we got to keep our eye on Matt Stafford. Is Carson Wentz? I mean, just signed there. I mean, hey, Baker looked good with Sean McVay. There's no telling that maybe he could help Carson Wentz out a little bit as well. So, I mean, that could be a good move possibly too. So, I like your thinking on that. We're on the same page. So, I think that's a good move. But on the Buccaneers side, you mentioned Baker Mayfield. I mean, do you like Mike Evans, Chris Godwin this week going up against this Tennessee secondary, because they are susceptible to big plays?
Yeah, I think Mike Evans is definitely the guy for that deep threat. I mean, he's just so good at contesting. I think Baker likes him a lot. It kind of reminds me a little bit of Odell back in Cleveland, where he's just a guy, like he's just kind of a safety blanket. And Kate On's getting involved in that offense. I think Kate On's definitely a good buy right now, especially if you need tight end help. If you've been streaming tight ends this whole entire time, like him and Jake Ferguson have been producing real good the last 2 weeks. So, I mean, I think the Bucks offense as a whole, there's so many underrated players on there. Rashad White looked bad, but now he's producing again. Kind of mad I sold him off a little bit early in one of my leagues. But, I mean, it just comes to show that Bucks offense is not bad with Baker there. And I think he's going to get another shot at leading that team if they keep finishing up where they're out of the quarterback drafting range.
Yeah, keep it around 500. I agree with you, man. That definitely is something. You mentioned shootout the last game. I think this definitely has potential shootout. I mean, if this is a DF, like if I'm DFSing it, I think this is a game I'm really watching. Do you agree with that too?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we saw Levis, he could ball. And is Mike Vrabel going to trust him to throw it down the field?
Yeah.
And I hope so, because, I mean, he has a cannon, dude. And he showed that his first game. Like, he was just lobbing all the way down to DeAndre Hopkins, just back-to-back touchdowns. It's like, this kid's got it. And then he didn't do that against the Steelers without Mika Fitzpatrick there. So it kind of worries me a little bit about what is going through their offensive mind. Arthur Smith comes from that tree, so maybe he learned to not use his players effectively from Mike Vrabel. Who knows?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And like you said too, with Mike Vrabel, hopefully he ain't too conservative. We seen that last week with Levis. I mean, let the kid throw the ball. I mean, what do you got to lose? I mean, it ain't like you're going to win the Super Bowl this year. Try to develop this offense.
Absolutely.
But we're going to hop into the next game here. The Detroit Lions at the Los Angeles Chargers. MCDC, Dan Campbell, Jimmy's guy, going up against the Los Angeles Chargers today. Now, the Lions are on the road. And, the big thing is with Jared Goff is he's bad on the road. He's never been any good. But I will say this. I do like him today because it's warm weather. It's L.A. He's been there before. Do you like the Lions today against the Chargers, or do you like the Chargers in this game?
Yeah, no, I love the Lions today. I think the Lions get it done. And they kind of need that bounce back win. They've struggled recently where they're just not looking like playoff contenders anymore. Brandon Staley, I mean, we already know this. Like, he finds ways to fuck up games. And this is a game he's going to fuck up somehow. He's going to call a timeout when he should be running out the clock or something. Jared Goff's going to come down and do a game-winning drive, something. I don't know what it's going to be, but it's going to be something stupid. And we're going to all look back. This is exactly why Brandon Staley needs to be fired.
Yeah, it's just like Matt Canada. Yeah, I cannot believe Brandon Staley made it through another season. But, yeah, I mean, I like the Lions today too. Now in the running back game, I mean, we know David Montgomery is coming back. He's making his return. All these Jahmyr Gibbs people are riding high. He has looked great. Do you think that we go back to what we've seen before the Montgomery injury? Do you think Montgomery gets more involved this week?
Yes and no. I mean, in my big money league, we're just start one running back. I'm starting James Cook over him this week. I mean, he has a nice matchup against the Broncos. And I think I trust James Cook a little bit more coming in from David Montgomery. The Lions, offensive line's getting better now. They're back. I forget. I think they had two injuries, but they're coming back. David Montgomery's coming back. So I think that offensive line is going to be so much better, and that's going to be able to hold back the Chargers' defensive line. That's played pretty well, and that's probably their shining, their little glimmer of hope on defense is their defensive front. But, I mean, for David Montgomery, I'm just not trusting him this week necessarily. But that's probably stupid. We kind of seen the blueprint of what Dan Campbell wants to do, where they want to use Dave Montgomery to soften up the defenses and let Jahmyr Gibbs get a couple touches, and then give Montgomery the goal line work. He doesn't want Goff thrown in the right, like in the 5 yards. Well, just give the ball to Dave Montgomery. That's why they paid him. That's why they signed him. So,
Hey, and you know the old saying, like Dan Campbell says, he don't want to run Gibbs like a Ferrari, like a dump truck. So, hey, but honestly, man, I have David Montgomery as a great start this week. I think he scores a touchdown. This run defense is horrible, and I do think he gets involved. What do you think of Sam Laporta this week? I mean, a lot of people really hyping him up. I'm a big fan too. I mean, I ain't gonna lie, I'm hyping him up too. But going up against this Chargers defense, I mean, this should be a tasty matchup for Amon Ra, for Laporta, all them guys. You think so too?
yeah, I mean, definitely Amon-Ra, I think it is. I think he's going to have a huge game, which is something that we kind of come to expect, which is crazy that we expect 20 points every week from a wide receiver. But that's the way it is when you get double-digit targets every week. Sam Laporta's been a great guy as well. He's just creeping up there in the targets. And, I mean, it just comes – I mean, it shows that you should be taking these tight ends and tight end premium rookie drafts, which is like we've always we've understood that they need like 3 years or so, just let them sit on your bench, let them get better. But now these tight ends are coming more pro ready out of there, so I think that needs to be change the way we evaluate rookies coming in, and that's something I'm going to look more towards. But I think it's gonna be, it's gonna be a good game just all around. I'm excited to watch this game. I think it's gonna be one of the better games in the 3 o'clock window, but I'm also excited to see Kyler Murray when he comes back. But
Yeah, I'm with you on that as well. And then on the Chargers, man, I mean, I'm going to mention one name because we know, I mean, Justin Herbert will probably bounce back. This is a little bit of a tougher draw, but he is a good quarterback. Keenan Allen will get his. But Quentin Johnston, I mean, so many people picking this guy in the first round of rookie drafts. I mean, we all said biggest boom bust player, leaning more towards bust for sure. And it's looking that way, unfortunately. But do you think there's hope for him at all this season? I mean, he just has not got involved and has not looked good.
yeah, I'm probably the worst person to ask about this because I'm a big hater.
Yeah, I'm a big hater too.
But I mean, we saw a snap share go up last week. His targets, he did not hit his career high in targets last week with all the snap percentages. So it might just be a cardio exercise of, hey, go run some clear routes and do that. I didn't really watch too much of the tape, but they need to use Quentin Johnston as I heard on a podcast they were talking about like how Seattle used DK in the beginning because DK wasn't like that refined when he first came out, and they just had him like run deep. You're just gonna run, and he would run and get in there. And sometimes Russell Wilson would throw the ball to him down deep, and he would catch it every now and again. And I think that's kind of what Chargers should be doing right now, where just use his athletic profile to your advantage in there. And if you don't throw it to him, that's fine. Just make the safeties go deep with them, and they'll clear up some of the open field for for Keenan Allen or whoever else is going to catch footballs on that team. I don't really know. I thought it was going to be Gerald Everett, but it wasn't him last week. But I mean, it just comes to show us the same Chargers every year, where the wide receivers get banged up, and I don't know how they have not figured this out yet, where they need to add more depth. I mean, they tried with Quentin Johnson, but it seems like he's trending more towards a bust. But man,
yeah,
worst person to ask.
Yeah, it's definitely looking bad, man. I'm not a big fan either, and I know there's so many people out there that's counting on the guy. It just does not look good. But I like the Lions to win this one. You on board with that?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm taking the Lions, especially at -2. I think that's a safe bet.
Me as well. But we're going to go over to the next game, the Falcons and the Cardinals. As you mentioned, Kyler Murray returning. We'll start there. What do you expect out of Kyler Murray today? I mean, this Falcons defense is solid. Now, we did see Will Levis do a number on them that 1 week, but for the most part, pretty solid, pretty tough. I mean, I'm kind of hesitant with Kyler Murray right out of the gate here. Are you on board with that as well, or are you firing him up no matter what?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think you have a little bit of reason to be nervous about him, just because, I mean, he's not played football in over a year now, and he's coming off the ACL. Is he going to be We've seen running backs coming off the ACL where they don't really trust their leg as much. They're not going to run out of the pocket, so he's going to offer you that safe floor as what he has before. But I think Cardinals did it right where they took their time on getting him back, but I don't think they were too much in a hurry to start winning football games. But I mean, just in there, I mean, if you have Kyler Murray, you kind of not really need to start him this week or in the past weeks lead up until now. So I probably wouldn't start until maybe like see how he plays against the Falcons because I think this is a good test. It was smart that they didn't play him against the Browns. I think that would have hurt his confidence a lot, especially coming back. The new Call of Duty was not that fun. I played it a little bit, and I'm like, I hate it. So maybe Kyler hasn't played as much.
There's always that.
So what?
There's always that hope.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, with the -2 here coming from the Falcons, I mean, the spread is close. So I think I don't know. Like, do you think who would you take on that spread? +2 Cards or -2 Falcons?
I think I would take the -2 Falcons. I mean, right now, I mean, Kyler Murray's going to be rusty too. Like you said, he's not going to be able to roll around much in the pocket. That defense is a little bit better. Atlanta's got some better weapons. Taylor Heineke is not complete garbage anyway. So I think he can at least get the ball to some of these guys against this defense. We've seen Cleveland do a number on him last week. I think I'm going to be on the Falcons side of this. I mean, how are you leaning?
Yeah, I'm leaning the same way, just for the fact that I don't think you really trust Kyler right now, and the Falcons' defense isn't bad.
No.
But it's definitely a good warm up matchup here. But a little anytime touchdown alert. Marquise Hollywood Browns listened part of my take, and they were saying that he scored 4 touchdowns in a row so far at home this year, and if he scores one here again at home, he will tie the franchise record, which will throw him up with like Larry Fitzgerald, Aquan Bolden. So I think he's I definitely put a little money on his anytime touchdown scorer there. I think he's gonna have a good game. I think Trey McBride's gonna have a good game, and I think Michael Wilson's gonna be a guy that might be a little sneaky flex play value here, or it might be even sneaky to put him in DFS lineups. Maybe some guys that they're not kind of overlooking him, and also maybe a good bet. I mean, I'm guessing his receptions and yards probably aren't that high. So,
Yeah, I like that too. And then the last thing I want to ask you, I mean, we both like the Falcons in this game, but the Jonnu Smith, Kyle Pitts situation, what do you think? What do you make of this? Jonnu Smith has just been an animal for the Falcons. I mean, if you have Kyle Pitts, you got to be pulling your hair out. I mean, I expected way more out of Kyle Pitts if you were a manager of Kyle Pitts, but I will say this. I think that Jonnu is making a case that he's tight end one in this offense. I mean, he's lining up in the slot 60-some% of the time. So that's kind of intriguing. I mean, I think Jonnu keeps it going. Do you agree with that?
Oh, man. I think it's insane how they rather have Jonnu Smith line up in the slot over Kyle Pitts. I don't understand the logic from it. But, I mean, Jonnu Smith, I mean, he did hit the 4th fastest run play last week on that big touchdown he had. So I mean, he has wheels. He might have faster wheels than Kyle Pitts there, but I mean, it just comes to show that like tight end is a frustrating position there, and hopefully Arthur Smith gets fired for not knowing how to use his players, because I feel like that's the Kyle Pitts role that Kyle Pitts should be having. It's a little frustrating for sure, man. But that's your guy. That's your guy.
I love Jonnu Smith. He's my guy. Over under for Bijan Wiz carries 15.
Oh shoot. Let me see how much he had last week, because I don't think it was very many. I think he had 8 or something like that. Let's see. I'm trying to pull it up.
Wasn't pretty, and I know a lot of people weren't happy about that either.
So he had 11 carries last week. He had 11 carries again before Tennessee. So he's had over 15 touches one time this year, and that was week 2 against Green Bay.
Not enough.
Yeah. So I think the under, just from historically looking at it and statistically, the odds are in your favor for the under here. But there's a report I saw on Twitter. I don't know how true it was, but Arthur Smith said that he plans on getting Bijan Robinson more involved But we've also seen this from other coaches saying they're going to get players more involved. And we saw Antonio Gibson last year. They're like, oh, we're going to get more involved. And then he started returning punts. You're like, oh, okay, this is not what I thought. So maybe, Bijan's going to start playing special teams or something. Who
Yeah.
knows?
Could be a punter or something maybe in this Arthur Smith attack. But no, I agree with you. It's crazy. So I know a lot of people are upset about that. This should be a smash matchup. So I think a lot of people are saying he needs to get the ball. So we'll see what happens. But going into the next one here, Giants versus Cowboys. The Giants, Andy said it, and I agree with him. They look like the worst team in football. This should be a slaughtering for Dallas. I know it's a division game, but boy, this New York Giants team looks rough. Do you think that the Cowboys absolutely smashed them today, or do you think it's actually fairly close?
Yeah. So it's minus 17.5.
Ooh.
Is the spread.
Yikes.
Yeah. Yeah, and I actually took the spread for the Cowboys. Because I think they easily clear that. I don't think Danny DeVito is the guy back there. He's too short. He can't see over the fucking offensive lineman in there. The Cowboys defense is no joke. They're going to slaughter him. We've seen him play against trash before, and they put up 43 points against him. They held him to nothing. I think this could be a nice repeat of what the Browns did to the Cardinals last week. And then I got bailed out in Superflex redraft league. I don't know if you saw that on Twitter, but I traded CeeDee Lamb for Deshaun Watson and DK Metcalf in a redraft league. And because I have Patrick Mahomes, Kirk Cousins, and Aaron Rodgers, and Patrick Mahomes is on bye week this week. So I need a quarterback, and luckily that one came in my inbox, so I had to hit accept on that one. So shout out to that guy for saving my my playoff hopes. And it's
yeah, I have Dak Prescott as the start of the week this week. I think this is going to get ugly quick. Boy, the Giants.
If it gets ugly quick, are you worried that they're going to take Dak out of the game? I'm curious if Trey Lance is going to start, if he's going to be suiting up, because I feel like this is a good game for like Trey Lance to get his feet wet, give him some more NFL touches in there, because I think the Cowboys are going to beat up on him real quick, and then after the second half, it's going to be the same thing that happened to Baltimore Seahawks, where they make let's go turn to a more entertaining game this week.
That's it. I do think that it could definitely be a possibility, but I think he's going to do so much damage early that it might not even matter. I mean, by the time they take him out, I mean, he could have 30 points real easy. So it's just going to be ugly. That's for sure. We'll keep our eye on it. We like the Cowboys big in this one, even though it's division game. The Giants, like you said, Danny DeVito just ain't it. But going to touch on a couple of these games. We only got about 5 minutes left. Washington Commanders versus Seattle Seahawks. Seahawks are at home. Just absolutely got pummeled by the Ravens last week. Do you expect a bounce back from Seattle against the Commanders, or do you think the Commanders take this one on the road?
Yeah, so it was +6 is the spread, and I took the Commanders spread because I feel like that's a lot of points. And we seen Sam Howell. He could hang in any game whatsoever. Like we've seen what he's done against the Eagles, where he just looked like Joe Montana. You know, that's what Mike Anthony was saying when we were on the podcast, when I was on the podcast with him. And I mean, Sam Howell, he's played okay. He needs little things coached out of him where he just can't be holding on to the football. And I think he'd be a good, legit starting quarterback in the NFL. And that Washington Commanders defense didn't look terrible last week for all the trades that they made. I mean, they traded away their whole entire defensive line, and it looked like they still are a competent defense. They're not the worst defense in the league, which surprised me. But I think Ken Walker's going to have a good matchup this week. I think he's going to feast. It's a little bit I don't know how you feel about that, but Zach Charbonnet's touch has been coming up a little bit. His snap share's been coming up a little bit. Are you a little bit worried if you're a Ken Walker owner?
A little bit, but not really. I mean, thing is with Charbonnet, it's nice that if you have him to see that, but he's just a 3 yards in a cloud of dust guy. I mean, you're hoping that I think maybe they're hoping third down. He is a little bit more of a viable pass catcher, but this offense has just been so bad in Seattle. I mean, Geno Smith, next to Deshaun Watson, that could have been the worst contract that we've seen in the last 2 years. I mean, I get it. He fits what they want to do. He's been okay, but to me, it's a team that has some pieces, but probably should have went the rebuild direction instead of trying to think that they can win. And now they're going to pay the consequences for it. So I don't know, man. It's going to be tough, but that was an ugly game against the Ravens. I know they got a winning record, but that division's outside of San Fran, that division's so winnable. So, they're playing some bad competitions at least 4 times a year. But no, I'm not too concerned because Kenneth Walker is such a big play player. I mean, once they get it going, if they can at some point, he's going to bust some big runs. And I've always said it, when you got a runner like that, you don't want to take him off the field ever, because when you can bust a big one any second, that's what you're hoping for. But I like the Commanders in this one too, man. I mean, they're low key solid. Hal's just he'll throw it anywhere. He don't care what happens. I mean, he does take a little bit better care of it than like a Jameis Winston or like a Baker Mayfield back in the day, but he will sling it wherever. I mean, so I do think that they're going to win, but I think it's going to be close. I think it's going to be like 20-24 Commanders. But I like the Commanders' offense today, though. I mean, I think that Howe and Scary Terry might play a solid role. I mean, what do you think of them guys as far as fantasy production?
Yeah, absolutely. Sam Howell has like shown that. I think he's like what QB 5 or 6 of the year so far.
Yeah,
He's been a real consistent start every week. Terry McLaurin's, even though the Commanders kind of been cycling in and out constantly, wide receivers. Terry McLaurin's been consistent enough where he's giving you a safe forward each and every week. So I think they're definitely lock startups unless you have someone better in there with like a way better matchup. But I think Terry McLaurin's gonna get a solid like 12 points this week.
yeah, I do too. I really like that. So you say Commanders, I say Commanders. Should be a solid game, nothing too special. Not going to touch long on this Sunday night game, Jets versus Raiders. I mean, I will say Aiden O'Connell, and the fact that they fired Josh McDaniels finally kind of give him a little bit of a spark. But going up against the Jets defense, I mean, this is probably going to be like a 3-6 type of game. I mean, Zach Wilson's horrible too. So I don't expect much out of this game. And I think the Jets do win it. What do you think of this one, Wiz?
Yeah, I mean the Raiders. I mean they kind of got that boost from what's his name, Pierce, something
Yeah,
Pierce.
Antonio Pierce. Yep.
Yeah, Antonio Pierce. And I think the Raiders. I mean, Aiden O'Connell looked terrible. Jets defense is legit though, and he's a rookie quarterback. Came out of Purdue, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Purdue. And so I mean, I think Robert Saleh. I mean, he's a pretty good defensive minded head coach. One of the better defensive minded head coaches in the league. I think he's definitely going to be able to. I think they're going to play a lot of tricks on him. I think the interceptions over 0.5 is definitely a lock for Aiden O'Connell. Or it's not Aiden O'Connell, is it?
For the Raiders quarterback?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Aiden O'Connell?
Yep.
Okay, it just sounds so wrong. As soon as it came out of my mouth, I was like, "That's not it." But I agree. I think the Jets are going to be there, but I think it's going to be a kind of a good football game just for the sheer fact it's going to be close, and there's going to be a lot of turnovers or like big play potential. I think Josh Jacobs could break one, Brees Hall could break one, and it's gonna be like exciting. You're like, oh wow, and then someone's gonna fuck up. Like Zach Wilson's gonna throw a pick, Aiden O'Connell's gonna throw a pick, and then you're like, oh, and this game ended up after like 400 yards of offense. This game's 7-7 still. You're like, this is crazy. But I mean, it's definitely a good Sunday night football game. They always pick the good ones. So.
Yeah, definitely, man. That's a good one for sure. Really looking forward to that barn burner. But the last game we're going to talk about, Broncos Bills Monday night. The Bills have just looked off. I mean, they're a 500 football team right now, and I give credit to Ty. He said this in the preseason. They just didn't look right. I mean, they're a team that could turn it around at any time, but they have been a little bit off. Going up against the Denver Broncos, the Bills are at home. Who do you like in this one, Wiz?
Oh, man. So it's +7, -7 overall. But I think the Bills do get win the game. I mean, we kind of seen the Broncos struggle, but then they play it well. So they're kind of a confusing football team. I think maybe Sean Payton's kind of shaked off the rust. I don't know how that works with coaching compared to players, but I'm guessing there definitely is a little bit of rust. But I think that offense is starting to find its identity now. I don't think it's going to be a top 12 offense in the league, but I think they're going to be middle of the road. Their defense is playing better now. And like you see, the Bills have struggled. And is this the last year that Stephon Diggs is in Buffalo? Is he going to go somewhere else next season? Because, I mean, we've seen before he throws a fit when they don't win football games, and they're struggling this year to win football games.
Yeah, that's it, man. He has. He's got a real mental problem when it comes to that. I do like the Bills, though, to bounce back. I mean, the Broncos have been playing better. Credit to them. Like you said, Sean Payton's kind of got it under control. And I do think Russell Wilson's going to have a solid game, though, against this defense. This defense is kind of underperformed, kind of thought not what we thought that they would be. Do you agree with that? You think Russell has a solid game?
Yeah, I think he's probably a good dynasty buy. Just for like what I mean, most people have had him. They're like been trying to sell him probably because they never want him after he just hasn't done anything. So you probably get him for like 2 seconds or maybe even a second and a third or something.
Yeah.
And if you're a contender, I mean, he's putting up. I mean, I would love to have him as a QB2 in most of my Superflex leagues in there, especially with all these injuries that have happened with Aaron Rodgers, Kirk Cousins. I mean, Daniel Jones. I mean, you really want to start Danny DeVito there? I wouldn't. Like give me Russell Wilson, even though he's been a little bit inconsistent, but I mean, he's putting up fantasy points, and that's what we care about.
Absolutely, man. So we both like the Bills in this one. But this is going to do it for the Week 10 stuff, guys. I mean, we do this each and every week. It's hard to believe it's Week 10. We only got 7 more weeks of fantasy football left. I mean, we got, 11, 12, 13. We got 4 weeks of regular season. And then after this week, and we got then the playoff round. So it's hard to believe it's coming to a head. We just thought we just got this thing kicked off not long ago. So it's already coming to a head, unfortunately. But all things end. And our goal is to try to help you any way we can, maybe possibly help you get into the playoffs and win a championship. We're going to do that each and every week. Before we sign off, I'm going to mention always, guys, the Dynasty DNA Discord channel. You're talking to the creator of it here, Dynasty Wiz, Nicholas Holt. Up to 90 members pretty much right now. We'd love to get it up to 100. If you're a fantasy football person, join. It's free. We'd love to have you. We love talking fantasy over there. We love talking DFS. I mean, all private message if you have a question. We're all available. We'd love to answer it. There's other great minds in there from other podcasts and shows and other platforms that are great people. They'll help you too. You won't be disappointed. It's a great place to even meet some friends. Also, if you want to follow that Discord or get into it, go over to our Twitter page, DynastyDNA_. It's right in the link. If you want to follow us on Twitter, follow us over there at DynastyDNA_. And if you want to get in the Discord, just click the link in the bio. It's free. You're welcome. We'd love to have you. But also want to bring up the weekly shows on the Dynasty DNA Podcasting Network. I mean, we do this show each and every week, Wiz and me, but on Spotify, Apple Pod, Stitcher, Google, Amazon, all the big podcasting platforms, we bring you 4 to 5 fantasy football shows a week. We cover everything from start sits, Dynasty, DFS. We got it all covered while the season's going on. Dynasty debates with Ty, Jimmy, and Muscles. That show's hilarious. They say this was their best show they did yet. So I'm anxious to hear this one tomorrow. They really got into some Donnybrooks, I'm sure. So I'm excited to listen to that. But I'm telling you guys, we appreciate the support, the DNA Strand crew. You guys are the best. I know I speak for Wiz here when we wish you all the best of luck going into your games here for Week 10. And if you want to follow Wiz on Twitter, make sure you follow him at DynastyWizFF. You can follow me on Twitter at TJBlakeDNA. But we wish you all the best of luck, and we will see you guys next week for Week 11. Have a good day and good luck, guys.
Adios.